Where are you going to put that Emmy that you're going to win for Mandalorian?
I'm going to bring home the hardware, baby.
I'm supposed to be fighting for Negroes, not ratting them out.
Did you know you had magic on your hands when it started?
I love playing Pow. And he had soul and power. It's like we used to ask you, like, so if it's a race war, like, what side are you going to take?
Your favorite celebrity meeting of all time?
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Give me a sneak peek at something cool from the season finale from Godfather of Harlem.
Rapid fire.
Hey family, welcome to the show. Hope you're staying safe and well. Today we got a veteran actor with close to 200 credits to his name, including some of my personal favorite films and TV shows. Of course, I'm talking about Giancarlo Esposito. More on him in just a second. Also coming up, we're going to shine a light on Bobby Lloyd, the CEO of Magnolia Bakery, in a spotlight segment presented by our friends at Smartsheet. That's coming up later in the show. But first, my guy, Giancarlo Esposito, perhaps best known for his scene-stealing performances in TV shows like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, The Godfather of Harlem, and of course in great films like Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Usual Suspects, many, many more. He's here today in support of his Emmy nomination for his work in the insanely popular series, The Mandalorian. This is my guy, Giancarlo Esposito, on The Carlos Watson Show.
I swear to God, things ain't gonna change. I swear to God, things ain't gonna change. I keep a revolver with your name. I keep a revolver with your name, just in case.
Congressman, nice to see you.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. You know, I'm loving Godfather of Harlem. You guys cannot get back on the screen soon enough for me.
I'm telling you, it's a show with all of our very enriched history.
Yes.
Also a show that brings us into a contemporary time period in regard to how it's framed musically and visually. And also a show that's so pertinent as to what's going on in the world right now. It seems the history repeats itself.
I got a call from Bumpy Johnson. The Guinea at the store around Lennox, and he's ready to help.
I don't think Johnson's the right resource. He's a criminal.
If I was afraid of rubbing elbows with criminals, I wouldn't have become a congressman.
Did you know you had magic on your hands when it started?
Well, I felt as if the writing was very solid and that the ideas behind the way the show was put together were also innovative. We felt a certain magic happening. It felt as if we were doing something that needed to be heated right now in our time. To link up the contemporary aspect of what's happening now with what we've been through in historically as African Americans fighting for our freedom really changed our idea and commitment in regard to how we're doing this particular show.
Oh, interesting. You feel like you guys have been enriched by the last year and a half. You think that that's added an urgency or an approach to the work?
Absolutely. You know, when you feel as if you've come so far and there's a certain amount of progress that's been made, and then you look back, you know, historically as to the bumps in the road that came with the civil rights movement, you realize that we still have a long way to go. When you link up Black Lives Matter and all of the police shootings that have been happening across the country, as well as the school shootings, you realize that people are still in a very desperate situation in regard to how they feel being a part of this American system.
Where do you find yourself right now? Do you find yourself hopeful on questions of race and inclusion and fairness?
I feel like, you know, we have major fish to fry in regard to our environment and in regard to all of the things that have hit us in the last year. I'm hopeful that the things that are happening in the world are going to start to wake people up and have them realize that we're all in this together. It's that old saying, you know, it's, divided we fall, united we stand.
Give me a sneak peek at something cool from the season finale from Godfather of Harlem.
Every season of Godfather is a different year, and so different things happen. And Adam Clayton Powell has fought very hard for the civil rights bill to be passed. And so you'll see that the words of Livingston Wingate somehow could be true, that it's a piece of paper. We see the turmoil that hits New York when a young man, Powell, happened to be same name as Powell's, was murdered by a police officer.
all of the various roles you've had, what have been your 2 or 3 favorite?
I really have loved working on a piece called Night on Earth with Jim Jarmusch. It allowed me to be a wonderful actor named Armin Mueller-Stahl.
You go to Brooklyn? Hello, how are you?
Who was really powerful. My section was with Armin and with Rosie Perez. I like films that travel you and take you around the world. So that was one of my favorite experiences. Also, I have to say that Do the Right Thing.
Oh, you gonna kick me out, huh?
No, I'm not kicking you out. You're kicking yourself out.
What? What's some brothers up on the wall? You know, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela. You know, Michael Jordan. Tomorrow.
Come on, get him out, all right?
I'm trying to get him out.
I feel like it was a tumultuous time in New York with Tawana Brawley at that period of time, and Spike was yearning to make a political statement as well as a personal and spiritual statement and economic statement in that movie. I feel like he masterfully handled that in such a beautiful way, giving us a sense of who we are and our culture and how that impacts us in a world that's changing rapidly. I also love this TV show, this little show called Breaking Bad.
Are you asking me if I ordered the murder of a child?
I would never ask you that.
That I did, because it allows us to look into a world that we didn't know about. I had read an article about 2 Mormon boys who went and eventually were scooped up by some meth makers and got caught up in the world of making meth. And I thought, this is intriguing. And it was at a time where this wasn't getting a lot of publicity. And I thought, I want to be a part of a show that exposes something. That's an expose that allows us to be entertained, but also shows us that moral tale. And also for Mandalorian. That's a new world for me, being in a Star Wars universe. Why do I love being in a Black community, African-American community so much? Because we have stories, and those stories impact me. Those stories inspire me. And so in Mandalorian, although it is that world and we're in a world that has completely collapsed, my character Moff Gideon feels like in the back of his mind the way that he can build this world, and that child that he wants has capabilities that would allow that. He, in his mind, make something good by trying to get this child because he feels like it could save our universe. That's what we have in our African culture. The hero journey, the stories that get told to the young people are stories of success, and stories of turmoil, and stories that aren't always turning out really great, but deep down they delve into developing character.
Giancarlo, you grew up at a time when there weren't as many mixed marriages. What was it like for you growing up as a mixed kid at a time when, again, that wasn't as common, and there certainly was probably greater risk, I assume. I don't want to project, but I assume there was potentially greater risk for your parents and even maybe for yourself.
Most certainly. It wasn't understood how cultures could mix and colors could mix, and it wasn't acceptable. So I was looked at very oddly, and it was a hurdle I had to overcome in most of my childhood. I reflect upon that now that I have mixed race children as well. So it still exists, that there's not quite the link up that we are people who can intermarry and have culturally diverse families. So for me, it was something that was really painful, because of course I wanted to belong and be accepted. And I think part and parcel of me being an actor was to find a home and a family that was accepting of me for all of who I am.
Extra cheese is $2.
$2?
Yeah, $2.
Hey, you can forget that. Yeah.
But that was also a struggle, because I came up in the business in the 60s where, we had Pearly Victorious and we had Pippin and we had Hair. But most of the shows that were all African-American shows, we became the entertainment. People love to come see, and that's the old stereotype, right?
Right.
Black people can, shuck and jive and entertain, and that's their position and their place. That's what led me and guided me to become a dramatic actor, because I wanted to cross over. I didn't want to just be the entertainment. For me, I had a hard time in show business, because I had to learn how to be Black in a way, be the Black man that the viewer wanted to see, as opposed to that's why I love playing Powell. I mean, this guy was smart, intelligent, didn't even really look Black. it's talked almost like a Southern Dixiecrat way up here. He was, he was that kind of man. And he had soul and power. And a man who had to find himself, too, after a year in college of passing for white. That's how white he was. Now, I think the fear of that blending was that it would dumb down or dilute the race and the culture, but I think it actually extends it. I'll tell you a story. We were in Germany. I think I was 3 or 4 years old. And my mother was performing at the Hamburg Staatsopera. And the knock came on the door and it was a delivery man. And we opened the door and we ran. This guy was from the Ivory Coast. He was blue-black. His skin was so dark. It was glistening and shining. And we ran away screaming. And my brother started screaming, Schwarzer, Schwarzer, Schwarzer. And we ran to the closet. And my mother, that's when she first realized, oh, these boys have not seen color, really. And so she had to explain to us, this is a man from the other part of the world. That was a great moment for me because I didn't see him as black. I knew his skin was black. Could have been a ghost, black ghost, white ghost. But then from that moment on, I realized the cultural difference in our world is supposed to be exposed to each other. We're supposed to have that experience. So when I started to look at Powell and saw his nose and saw his hair, I went, this man ain't black. He can't be black. You know what I mean?
Right,
and then through my research, I had met him when I was young. So I was very blessed.
You had met him and remembered him?
Yes,
meeting him?
My mother was a huge fan of his, and she worked at the Cotton Club and in Harlem. She had a day job at Tom Ford's Soda Fountain, which was 3 blocks from Abyssinian, and she was spiritual and religious. So she took me to go see the preeminent, the master African-American preacher and statesman, Adam Clayton Powell.
Talk to me a little bit about your parents. What was it like for them being a mixed couple in the 50s?
It was difficult for them because my mother was very dark and my father was olive skinned, and my father had a temper, and my father believed that, we should live together as one. He fiercely defended my mom and her African-American side of her. She was from Alabama. So that becomes stressful for me. It changed my life because it had me find myself as a human being. When you think about my life, I played a slave kid in Maggie Flynn in a Broadway musical with Jack Cassidy and Shirley Jones. And then I transitioned from that into playing many different Spanish roles so I could get work.
Maybe she liked to slide into the land of age every once in a while.
So there was a certain me trying to preserve my own cultural heritage. It's the next level of that, trying to find yourself. When African Americans didn't accept me until after Do the Right Thing, then people started to go, oh, look at this guy. But I had been acting for a long, long time. But when they saw me play Bugging Out, they claimed School Days began that. Do the Right Thing afterwards. I'm in debt to Spike Lee because he helped me to understand who I am in many different situations because of the characters I play. I really understand my blackness and also my Italian culture, and I feel comfortable right in the middle of all that. Like Spike Lee used to ask me, like, if there's a so Giancarlo, so your mom's from Alabama, your father, yeah, so he's from Italy, so he's white. I said, well, he's olive, but he's white. I said, well, he's olive. So if it's a race war, like, what side are you gonna take? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Spike would always ask me profound questions, which is why I really love him. Because he wanted to figure out his understanding of that mixed race cultural experience as well. So I realized I don't have to pick sides.
Did you know Trump at all? Had you bumped into Trump in various places and circles?
Yes, I have, because I'm a New Yorker after Italy. And I remember meeting Donald and his first wife. We were shooting a film. I was shooting with Christopher Walken, a movie that Abel Ferrara directed called King of New York.
Can I help you something? Is the meeting set with Delicio?
Downtown. And we were using the plaza, their little circle driveway. And I remember them knocking on the limo window, and Chris and I were getting ready to shoot, doing a scene that gets out at the plaza. And there was Donald Trump, and Chris was like, what's going on? And they were like, well, can you just take a moment and meet this dude? It's like, what dude? We stepped over and met him. He was just, to me, a real estate guy and businessman, but certainly someone who was smart enough to to take the politics of those in middle America who are suffering, who are poor whites, and embolden them to be paid attention to now. He really moved on that in a way that I think it was part and parcel of his genius. Unfortunately, the leadership that was offered wasn't quite what he wanted at the time or needed.
Who would your ideal president be?
I think we need someone young with a spiritual essence who regards all people, who's not sexually put in a box and not looked down on for whatever their sexual preference is.
I hate that I'm going to have to let you go, but I want to do rapid fire before we go.
Sure, why not?
What's your favorite play of all time?
King Lear.
King Lear, I take it. Your favorite karaoke song?
If I were a carpenter and you were a lady.
If I were a carpenter and you were a lady.
Would you marry me anyway? Rapid fire.
I love that. I love it. Your favorite celebrity meeting of all time?
Sidney Poitier.
Where and when?
Emmy Awards. I think it was 2013. Really nervous to go and tap him on the shoulder and tell him how he changed my life. First black man I saw not play his color. He played someone who was intelligent, smart, and he changed my life forever because he was defiant, not angry, all completely comfortable in his own skin. That moment for me will live on forever.
They call me Mr. Tibbs. I can't do it like you.
No, wait a minute. They call me Mr. Tibbs.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Oh, yeah, I loved him too. And so many good roles. Back to rapid fire. Where are you going to put that Emmy that you're going to win for Mandalorian?
On the mantle in the living room. This is my 5th nomination, but it's going on the mantle in the living room. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to bring home the hardware, baby.
Giancarlo, this was too good to be true. I've enjoyed you in just so many good roles, so this is a real treat for me.
Thank you, Carlos. It's been wonderful to be with you.
All right, who is up first?
He kind of reminds me of Sidney Poitier, right? Big fan, and it was great to hear. I didn't know a lot of his background. I obviously knew him from Breaking Bad, and I've seen him in other things here and there, but Italian, I didn't know that. I really loved getting to know him, and I already liked him, but I like him even more now.
I only watched him from Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian. So when he came on and he was smiling, I was like, wow, he looks really different, because I was not used to him smiling, and he looks so friendly, and I think his demeanor in the interview and, you know, what he portrays in the shows are so different.
I mean, he's worked with some of the greatest directors of our time. Like Jarmusch, Spike Lee, like that's really exciting. And also that was the best Sidney Poitier impression.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed Giancarlo Esposito. I've loved him going back to Do the Right Thing all the way through Godfather of Harlem. Hope you didn't miss him in Usual Suspects. He's been so good in so many things. And now I see where it comes from. So many good influences, including his mom and dad and his kind of own journey and story. I love that he owns it. I love that he's enjoyed it. That matters a lot. Let's hope he gets his first Emmy. We will see. All right, listen, now as promised, it's time for the first in our series of Spotlight segments presented by our good friends at Smartsheet. Today, it's all about the CEO and Chief Baking Officer of the insanely popular Magnolia Bakery, Bobby Lloyd. For more, take a look at this.
I'm Bobby Lloyd, Chief Baking Officer and CEO of Magnolia Bakery.
Next great baker has a new judge, and it's a hometown favorite.
From the famous Magnolia Bakery.
Katie Holmes, Suri Cruz, enjoying Magnolia cupcakes made famous years ago by the ladies of Sex and the City.
I'm a pastry chef, that's my background, but I'm also a businesswoman, so I have to be able to have my hand on the pulse of both and make sure that the product that we produce is what people expect. Magnolia Bakery opened in the West Village at 401 Bleecker Street. For 10 years, that was the only location. We now have 30 stores approximately worldwide. That worldwide expansion was really because of Sex and the City. It was where people learned about who we were.
I have a crush.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good. You haven't had a real crush in a while. Not since Big.
Big wasn't a crush, he was a crash.
When that episode aired, it went viral. So we've been able to turn this into a very large company in terms of number of locations, but we still feel like a small neighborhood bakery. And that was a big deal. Now, 25 years later, we have almost 30 locations worldwide. We've been using Smartsheet probably 6, 7, 8 years. We have been using it for quite a while, and it was a great tool. Just this year alone, we've opened 2 new locations. One is Central Park South here in New York City. Smartsheet is an invaluable tool because we have many different departments that have to use it as a check sheet. Did your department cover all the things you need to do to make sure we can get this location open? It starts very early with design and development, lease negotiations, contracts and agreements, down to, hey, we're ready to open, and the marketing department has their list of all the things that they need to do. We had team members who had worked on other project management platforms and preferred this one because of the ease and the lack of a learning curve. Intuitively open a document or open a website and understand how to navigate without someone having to train you. And that's really how we felt with Smartsheet. I can share it with anybody. Everyone on that Smartsheet has access to the information so that they can do their job. If you need to fill out a contract for someone, the information you need is right there, all held in one location. Smartsheet no-code technology allows Magnolia Bakery to manage all of our projects across every platform worldwide. So Smartsheet's been a wonderful, fantastic operational tool for us. It is the one thing that allows us to work across many companies, cultures, countries. We're working with everyone, non-English speakers, English speakers. We love it because we can provide information in the cloud that they have access to. It's information, notes, it's such a great tool. I love it. We use that Smartsheet as a way to organize all of the information for the external teams like architects, designers, contractors, as well as our internal team to make sure that everybody is staying on schedule. One of the unique things about Magnolia Bakery is we are a sweets-only bakery, which is not the norm for most bakeries. We have a broad line of products that we offer, and over the last 15 or so years, we've expanded that line. So having developed this into a business that people understand, and the excitement of how I still feel excited about a finished product, perfection. We do that by making sure that we always are looking to how to improve by improving either the technique of how we make an item or the quality of the ingredients. So I believe that we're going to be around for a long time.
That was Bobby Lloyd and Magnolia Bakery. Our thanks to them and to all of our good friends at Smartsheet. Hey, we'll see you next time for much more of the good stuff right here on The Carlos Watson Show.
It's still the night shift, just brighter. Still a night out, but everything fits in. Chevrolet, making life's journey just better.
We don't know what our kids are capable of because their education sometimes is so limiting, particularly in Black and brown classrooms. There's always an emphasis to me on body control. You can go into a very affluent white classroom and the kids are moving around the room and talking and there's lots of activity and you assume that something magical is happening. You go into a Black classroom and the kids are moving around and interacting with each other and it's perceived very differently, right? Immediately someone thinks that teacher doesn't have classroom management skills. But I think it's also kind of limiting what we allow our kids to have access to. And we want to invite students to tell us, what are you curious about? If you have a hook and a kid is really excited about a particular subject or some sort of content, lean into the things that they do well so they build the confidence they need as students to tackle the things that are a little more challenging.
Shockingly, 14 million students are in schools with police, but no counselor, nurse, psychologist, or social worker. And 2 out of every 5 students say they feel unsafe with police officers in school, which begs the question, who are they protecting?
It would be a better country for all of us if Black children and white children got equal educations and had equal opportunities.
So what has the last year done? Because there were more conversations about race than I remember in my life. during the Black Lives Matter protests. Has that changed in your experience?
I think in some ways, obviously it's better because of awareness, and especially with social media, you know, it has its flaws, but it's bringing things to like more attention to important issues. But for me, it kind of feels like it's worse because now I feel like any of my white friends or people at work, they're walking around eggshells around me because they're afraid that anything they're gonna say is offensive. Or when I say, hey, like this is actually a microaggression, or this feels kind of ignorant, like I'm trying to let you know, it's instantly, instead of, hey, I apologize that I did those things and here's how I'm going to change. Now it's like defending, I'm not racist, I'm not like this, I'm not like this and this and that. It almost seems like they feel like the finger is pointed at them and everybody's walking around eggshells and can't have that conversation because they're so afraid to be called out for something negative.